Chris. I'm a fourth quarter student. This is actually my first time talking to TikTokers. But Chris asked me to do it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to step up and do it. And so I'm glad to be here today. And my topic is called the spiritual subluxation. Now, it's kind of interesting. I wanted to look around the room and see people's reaction when you hear spirituality. Because sometimes we instantly get a bad taste in our mouth. We associate spirituality with religion. I don't want to talk about religion today. We're going to take that part out of it. Spirituality is a lot deeper than just a set of beliefs. So the thing I want to do first is make a few definitions. So I want to define spirit. One of the greatest definitions I found uses some words that we're used to. So it says the animating or vital principle in man or animal. So we're used to that, right? We're vitalistic. We're about life. That's our innate, right? Our spirit is our innate intelligence inside of us. Spirituality, I define that as our connection to something bigger than ourselves. Something far greater than what we can be by ourselves. So connecting to your fellow man, connecting to each other, connecting to nature, something bigger, connecting to the world in a grander scheme than we can have by ourselves. So that's what I'm talking about, a spiritual subluxation. So what is subluxation? It's interference, right? We call it an interference between the communication of the brain to the body. What are the three things we always say cause subluxation? Trauma, toxin, and your thoughts. Now, thoughts gets really close to what I'm talking about, but those are all communication between brain and body. Now, what I'm talking about is what if we have a disconnect between our spirit, our innate, and the universal intelligence, everything else that's connected to us, the vibe we get from each other. Is that not a subluxation as well? If there is something disconnecting us from our fellow people, how can we properly communicate? Now, I want to get into a little bit more about how we communicate to each other. Sometimes I think we overestimate our ability to sense. I think we say, if I can see it, smell it, touch it, taste it, it's real. But over and over again we prove that's not necessarily true, right? So in the visual spectrum, we can only see from about 390 nanometers to 700 nanometers. Now that is a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. We can only see a tiny, tiny portion, which means there is a whole bunch of stuff going on around us all the time. We can't see it all happening around us all the time. Same thing goes on with hearing. We can only hear from 20 to 20,000 hertz, which means, can you hear a dog whistle? I can't, but it's there. We know it exists, right? Or say a train goes by, there's a low rumble that we cannot compute, but other creatures can. Dogs can hear it. Other animals can understand that there's things going on around us all the time that we are not perceiving. Same thing with olfaction, when we're smelling things. Dogs have an incredible sense of smell. They have 220 million olfactory receptors. We only have 5 to 6 million. So that means there's smells going on around us all the time that we're not perceiving. The one that blows me away is pheromones. We are putting out hormones, pheromones, all the time. That's connecting us to one another. We don't perceive it, but you know what's incredible is our brains still do. We're picking it up, we're smelling it. Our brains are processing it, analyzing what's going on around us, and we can't even consciously comprehend that we are connected to each other through our sense of smell. Blows my mind every time I think about it. So my question is, if our other senses are so dampened, what about our sense of touch? Our sense of connection to one another? Now this one I think we vastly underestimate. We have become a society that is afraid of touching one another. We don't give real hugs. What do? We always give... That's our hug. That's crap. I don't like hugs like that. If you're going to hug me, give me a real hug. We're afraid of touching each other. I mean, you rub against each other in the subway, you scoot away. You're like, oh, sorry, I apologize. I don't mean to touch you. I'm going to stand like this. We don't communicate through touch anymore, and it's one of our strongest senses. Let me prove it to you. So, say you're in your house watching TV late at night, and you're by yourself, and your little brother walks into the room. You don't see him, you don't smell him, you don't touch him, you don't feel him. Or you do feel him, don't you? You can sense his presence without even knowing he's there. You're like, wait, I'm not alone anymore. I can feel it. Why can I feel it? I know he's not there. Oh wait, he is there. our sense of feeling and knowing where we are in space and next to each other is a lot stronger than we think it is. Or how about this? This is actually an experiment I've been running for about 5 years. When you're sitting in a busy cafeteria, you see your friend all the way across the room. If you stare at them long enough, eventually they're going to go, okay, something feels weird, what's going on? And then all of a sudden they turn, you make eye contact, and you're 300 yards away. Like, how do we do that? We can transfer energy between each other. We're connected all the time. And actually, I did an experiment with my roommate Amber. I was sitting in class a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to see if I could reflect this energy. So I had my computer up, and it's just sitting there, but it's black. So I can see my reflection and her reflection. So I start staring at her through the reflection. And all of a sudden, I can see her getting uncomfortable. She starts twitching and moving, and I'm like, and finally she looks at me through the computer. That's how powerful our sense of touch is, guys. We can feel each other even through reflection. I mean, that's incredible, right? So we can also imagine if we can feel each other that way, like through distance, imagine how much information we can transfer through touch. If I can transfer my presence to you without touching you, without even any other sense, you can feel me. Now, if I take my spirituality, my innate, my power inside and actually lay my hands on you, imagine how powerful that is. Imagine how much transfer of data we can get from one another. Now that's really important for us, right? We're chiropractors. That's what we're going to do every day. We're going to lay our hands on people and touch people. Some people who are afraid to be touched, who have never been touched before. This is huge. A psychologist, Hartenstein, did a study that within 78% accuracy, people were able to detect the emotion they were feeling through touch alone. So if they were touching another person, up to almost 80% of the time, they could tell you exactly what that person was feeling. And the emotions that they tested were anger, fear, disgust, love, gratitude, sympathy, happiness, and sadness. Is that not incredible? We have the ability to feel each other and understand what's going on between each other just by touch. We don't have to talk, we don't have to say anything. So I want to tell you a story. My mom's a massage therapist, and as she was going through school, they started talking about this thing called emotional transfer. And as you're massaging people, you're kind of really getting connected with them. You get out of your head and you're just working on their body. Sometimes you'll get this transfer of emotion. Like say you're having a great day and they're really, really depressed or really sad. All of a sudden you'll start to feel like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm sad, like I don't understand why. Why am I feeling this way? And then you start talking to them, you realize, oh man, they're really hurting, something's going on with them. And you've picked that up, you've transferred it to yourself. I thought it was a bunch of crap. I was like, Mom, that's not true, that doesn't happen. Well, she started teaching me to massage. And as I started to get into massaging and really connecting with people, I found it to be true too. It's actually happened while I've been in school. I was massaging a friend and I was like, what's going on with you? Because you're really bumming me out. Like I wasn't even talking to you and now I'm upset. What's going on? And he comes to find out he had some big stuff going on in his life. His emotion was transferred to me through my hands. Well, think about this. It can go the other direction. If their emotion can influence me, our emotion can influence them. That's what we do as chiropractors. And that's where it comes back to the spiritual subluxation. If we are disconnected from something bigger than ourselves, if we are not connected and filled up, how can we possibly impart that power into them? We may be in the mental state, we may have the perfect adjusting, but if we're disconnected from the world around us, how can we possibly want to influence and change that person through our touch? So that's what I'm going to urge you guys today, is start changing your mindset about what we do as chiropractors. We're not just moving bones. We can actually influence people's thoughts, spirit. We can reconnect them to something much bigger than they can even understand, and we don't have to talk to them. All we have to do is touch them, lay our hands on them, and let them feel it. So I'm going to leave you with one last thought. A lot of people say, be a hollow bone. Let universal intelligence flow through you into your patients, right? Well, I want to leave you with a different analogy. I would rather you be an empty cup. I want you to be filled up, because if we're a hollow bone, that means we're not filled, right? We're just a tube. We can't hold anything. But if I'm a cup, I want to be filled with the universal intelligence, the spirituality that's all around us all the time, fill us up to its overflowing, so we don't have a choice, but as soon as we touch our patients, they feel the overflow of spirituality, innate power that you are offering because you are so full of the world around you. So that's what I want you guys to do today. Leave with that thought. Thank you.